Good? Sorry about that, everybody. Let's go on to the next page. Farmers and hunters. While they all needed the buffalo and shared many customs, there were differences among the plains people. Their ways of life depended in part on where they lived. People of the Central Plains. Some plains groups lived in the eastern part of the plains or the Central Plains. The Iowa and the Missouri lived there, as did a smaller group of Sioux. See how Sioux spelled is a little different. Such as the Nakota. These groups were both hunters and gatherers and farmers. They gathered plants and hunted deer, elk, and buffalo. They farmed in the fertile valleys of the Missouri and the Platte rivers. And they grew beans, corn, and sunflowers at times. Groups traded some of the crops for other goods. These Central Plains people lived in villages made up of large, round earthen houses called lodges. See, that's one of your words.
Yeah.
Each lodge was home to several families. One lodge usually held 20 to 40 people. Each lodge was built of earth over a small pit. In the center was a fireplace under a hole in the roof for letting out the smoke. On the northern prairies, the lodges were covered by sod, a layer of soil held together by the roots of grasses. About twice a year, Central Plains tribes took part in a great buffalo hunt. To reach the distant plains where the buffalo lived, the people had to walk from their villages in the river valleys. And there's an illustration of them building their teepee poles and everything else. How were the Central Plains Indians both farmers and hunters? What did they hunt?
They hunt buffalo and other kind of animals.
And what did they grow? Just plants and
beans, corn, and sunflowers.
Yes, very good.
Kind of like the Three Sisters.
Yes, very good. A nomadic society. Smoke rises from an early fire as the Cheyenne woman makes food. Wood is scarce or in short supply. The scarcity of wood means other sources of fuel must be used. So the woman burns dried buffalo droppings called chips. Yikes.
Dropping, ugh.
People of the Great Plains. The Cheyenne lived in the western part of the interior plains called the Great Plains. They and other groups who lived there, such as the Kiowa and the Crow, moved from place to place following the herds of buffalo. They did not farm the dry grass lands where they lived. Their digging sticks could not break up the soil. It must have been real hard.
Yeah.
The Great Plains people built shelters that were easy to move. One such shelter was a cone-shaped tent called a teepee. To build a teepee, wooden poles were set in a circle and tied together at the top. Then the poles were covered with buffalo skins. A hole at the top of the teepee let out the smoke from fires. The people also used their wooden poles to make a carrier known as travois. A travois was made of two poles tied together at one end, then fastened to a harness on a dog. And you could see that down here, a travois. See?
Travois?
They pulled it. They put their stuff on there. Goods were carried on a buffalo skin tied between the poles. What did people on the Great Plains, why did they have a nomadic way of life? And let me answer that. They had to move around a lot because the soil was bad in certain spots.
Yeah.
And they need to raise crops where it was fertile. And they need to hunt where the buffalo were. And where
Let
the
me
other
zoom
animals
on
was.
those little things right there.
What's that? That's the travois.
Yes, that's the
And there's the teepee. And in hot weather, they opened up the teepee, let the air in. Okay. Plains and culture. Like all Native Americans, the Plain people had different customs and kinds of government. The Lakota people, another branch of the Sioux, were made up of 7 nomadic groups. Each group made its own choices, however, belonging to the larger Lakota group required the smaller groups to respect each other's hunting areas and live in peace. The Cheyenne governed differently. They were 10 groups that were independent of each other in many ways. However, each group sent its leader to meet with the Council of Chiefs. All the Cheyenne groups had to follow the council's decision. Among the Plains people, every person in the group was equal. No one person was born more important than anyone else. Any man could become chief if he was a good warrior and a good leader. Traditions and religious beliefs. Even though they had many different ways of governing, many of the Plains groups shared certain traditions and religious belief. Each group had a story that told them how they came to be. The Blackfoot, for example, believed that they were made by a spirit called the Old Man. Remember that was on your sheet, study guide. Oh, the Old Man. Among the Plains groups who farmed corn was very important. Every year, they held ceremonies to celebrate and give thanks for the corn harvest. A ceremony is a celebration to honor a cultural or religious event. Other ceremonies mark the beginning and the end of the buffalo hunts, the naming of a child, and the beginning of a marriage. The Sioux held a ceremony called the Sun Dance. They believed that it helped keep the buffalo strong. Many Plains people held sun dances or similar ceremonies before the summer buffalo hunt. Ceremonies such as the Sun Dance showed the Plains people respect for nature and helped build a sense of unity. How were the governments of Lakota and the Cheyenne different? Well, the Lakota people were much more, the Cheyenne were much more independent from the big group.
Yeah.
Right? Or was it the Blackfoot were different? No, the Cheyenne. They had council of chiefs.
And I'm
or the Lakota, each made its own choices. Okay.
And I'm zooming up on the thing right there, the calendar robe.
Calendar robe. Many people many Plains people kept the history of their group on what's called a calendar robe. Each year, leaders met to decide what events should be recorded, like a good elk hunt or a buffalo meat was plentiful. So it kind of kept track of things. Mm-hmm. To summarize, the Plains people lived in a large region that stretched across the middle of North America. The Plains people were made of many different groups. However, different groups lived in similar types of shelters, dependent on the same sources of food and shared certain religious beliefs. Thank you for listening to us. We're going to try to do this every once in a while, and we're going to load them up to our YouTube channel, and that's it. That YouTube channel is Dom Mad. I do believe isn't it dommad@gmail.com? No, it's what is it?
It is Stephen Boone.
Stephen Boone. Up to Stephen Boone. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And the website on Brownsville.
Well, I'm not going to do that yet.
Okay.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.